And so as I began to work on myself, I realized that I'm getting out of one story and stepping into another story. As I become aware of some things, there's still some things I'm not aware of. So I'm still growing, I'm still developing. I'm like the lady who said, Lord, I ain't what I want to be, ain't what I'm going to be, but thank God I sure ain't what I was. But I realize that you have to work on yourself on a regular basis, and write this down, for mental mindset. For mental mindset and stamina. Because things are going to happen to you.
I think you discover what your purpose is. There's a difference. Determining indicates deciding. And I don't think you decide. I think if you go about it the right way, you discover it. Like there's some people that should be painting all day. They're great artists. I think Michelangelo was obviously a great artist, a great sculptor. I mean, that was his purpose in his life. Well, I believe my purpose is doing what I'm doing. Your purpose is why you get out of bed in the morning. Do you know why you get up? Well, most people say, well, it's to go to work. Well, that'd be a good reason to stay in bed. You know, you say, well, everybody's doing it. That'd be another reason to stay in bed. If you're ever doing what everybody's doing, you're probably going in the wrong direction. Your purpose is your reason for living. What you want to do is sit down and maybe take a pen and a pad and then ask yourself, what do I really love doing? Now, you may have to spend a while at this. You might get up an hour early every morning and go sit under a tree somewhere if you're in a nice climate, or pick a favorite chair, someplace where you're not going to be disturbed, and totally relax and say, if I could spend my life doing something, what do I really love doing? Now, since you don't ask yourself that question every day, it might take a while for this answer to come to the surface, but it comes to your consciousness. And it may take a while. You may have to do this every morning for 3 months, but it would be well invested, the time.
Most people are not accumulating wealth. Most people are living in poverty. Most people are living far below their potential, not because they don't have the capacity, not because they have not been given authority and dominion over everything on the face of the earth, but most people are living like they're living because of the fact that they don't believe they can have any more than what they now have. In the book called Miseducation of the Negro, Dr. Carter G. Woodson said, if you can determine what a man shall think, you'll never have to concern yourself with what he will do. If you can make a man feel inferior, you never have to compel him to seek an inferior status, for he will seek it himself. And if you can make a man feel justly an outcast, you never have to order him to go to the back door. He'll go without being told. And if there's no door, his very nature will demand one. That's why Scripture reminds us, be ye not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So every day you have to sell yourself and get out of your mind those old thoughts, that old belief system. Every day you've got to sell yourself on that it's possible. That you got to put a new mind in you. You got to get out of your mind. You got to begin to restructure your thinking. Every day, you've got to begin to recondition your mind. See, many of us go through life making choices, thinking it's our choices, and it's not.
Anything that doesn't work out, any show that I might not get, any show that I might do that doesn't turn out well and gets pulled off or something like that, I always think of as, this is the way it was supposed to be. That's the way it was supposed to happen, because there's something bigger down the road. There's something better down the road, and this is happening because I'm not ready, or, you know, and it's always happened that way. I mean, the first time I ever went to Yuck Yucks when I was 15 years old, I went to Church Street, the old Yuck Yucks. It was 2 lanes of a bowling alley, and I went there, and I was not good. I was all right. I mean, You were 15? I was 15. I had a white polyester suit on my mom put on me. And I went down there with Dad and got up on stage, and I was doing all right, really, but the owner of the club got on the mic backstage and started going, "Totally boring," and all this stuff. It wasn't hip enough for them. So I was pretty shattered, and I didn't go back for 2 years. And then my father said when I was 17, I started doing little shows here and there again, and he said, "Why don't you go back to Yuck Yucks?" I said, "No way, I don't want to go back there." And he said, "Well, you should get over it. I mean, if you're gonna go into the business and you want to do it seriously, you can't have those barriers, you know." And I went back and I did great, and I became a regular and a headliner, and it built from there. And then when I went down to Los Angeles, the same thing happened. I went to the Comedy Store. I did all right, but not good enough to become a regular. And I became totally discouraged with the Comedy Store. I came back to Toronto like everybody who doesn't do well down there comes back going, "Oh, I hate Los Angeles. It's such a crummy place. Oh, really? You can't raise kids there," and all that stuff. And Comedy Store is a rat race. It's a rat race. But then 2 years later, again, my father, he says to me, "Well, you should try and get into the Comedy Store." And my manager set up a showcase there. I went in and I did well and became a regular there, and everything has happened from there since. It's been incredible, and it always goes in stages like that. So I accept the fact that I fail, because I know that that's the way it's supposed to be.
You want to make your dream come true, you got to stay focused. Some people rather get even than get ahead. Stay focused on where you want to go. I just kept on doing what I was supposed to do. And so I was driving to the radio station. My opponent had over $20,000. I had less than $800. As I was in the radio station, the guy said, "You're going to make a commercial?" I said, "Yes." He said, "It better be a good one because that money can't go pretty far here." And I sat there in the middle control room and I was thinking, and here's what happens when you get still. Stuff will start coming. Something said, "Call your mama." You used to talk about your mother on the air all the time. Ask her to say a few words for you. That'll be a different kind of political spot. So I called my mama, and I had a gospel record playing in the background. And then I had my mother say, "Hello, this is Mrs. Mamie Brown. When I raised my sons, I raised them to be good children. When they got out of hand, I beat their behind and made them go right. Please vote for my son. He's a good boy." Usually in the state representative race, maybe 3,000 or 4,000 people will come out to vote in a primary. In that primary race, over 27,000 people came out and voted and said, "I'm voting for Les Brown because his mama said he's a good boy." I won, ladies and gentlemen. I won. So you've got to be willing to stay focused, to be creative, to be relentless, because things are going to happen to you when you're working on your dream.
Fascinated by comedy. I'm fascinated by many, many different things. I don't understand when people say they're bored, because if I had the time to live 100 lives, I'd be speaking different languages. I'd be living in different countries. I would try a number of different careers, because I think there's a lot of unbelievably fascinating, puzzling, complex things that you could study in this world. That's just me and my personality, but that's a personality also that I've cultivated over years of challenges.
Were you like that as a kid too?
Well, I was involved in martial arts very early, and I think that is one of the things that motivated me to explore difficult tasks, because through difficult tasks you learn an incredible amount about yourself, and you through the fire of competition you get to understand motivation, you get to understand the resistance that you have inside your mind to doing hard work, you get to understand the rewards of discipline. Like, you don't truly appreciate relaxation unless you've worked hard, and that is the yin and the yang of life. And I've said this to the point of people getting sick of it, but one of the worst decisions a man can make, I can only speak for men, obviously, is to be comfortable. I don't think you should try to be comfortable. I think what you should try to do is try to earn comfort. And if you can get a day off where you've worked hard and you've accomplished goals, that day off will be so sweet. When I work hard and I sit in front of the TV, I enjoy the shit out of it. I put my feet up, I have a nice drink, I enjoy
one
my
of those
free
chairs
time.
that nids your back or something like that?
I do have one of those.
Do you really?
Those are great.
They're great, right? Yeah.
I don't use it that much though, honestly. I'm more of a workaholic than I should be, probably. If the balance was, I probably should relax more than I do, but I never feel like I earned it. But that's part of the reason why when I do feel like I earned it, I can enjoy it. It's because I am more connected to the idea that I need to accomplish things, and it's not like for anybody else's benefit other than my own, or anybody else's approval other than my own. When I have a task, whether it's today I'm going to write 1,000 words, or 2,000 or whatever the number is. If I don't do that, I write things down. Like I'll write down a list of things that get accomplished that day. And if I don't accomplish that, I'll get sick. Like it'll drive me crazy. If I can't fill out that list, that drives me nuts, but that's what led me to be a championship level martial artist. That's what led me to achieve it's like that. It's the reinforcement of those goals, like understanding that you can achieve those goals. It's going to be difficult. You're going to push through the difficulty, and then you're going to understand what difficulty truly is and how much of it is just mental, how much of it is just in your mind, this adversity to difficult task or to struggle. And a lot of people have that. They're scared. They're scared of complications. They're scared of failure. Failure is a big one that people are afraid of. But failure is one of the most important things you could ever have as far as like the motivation to do things differently. One of the reasons why I think that I'm good at friendships and relationships is because I've failed at them in the past. One of the things that I'm good at comedy is because I've bombed on stage. One of the reasons why I'm good at work is because I've been a shit worker in the past, and I know the feeling of failure, the feeling of shame, of being like a weak, non-motivated, lazy person. That's a weak feeling. You don't respect yourself. And I have this phrase that I use all the time to people to try to motivate people. I say that be the hero in your own movie. Pretend that if your life was a movie and your life started now, what would the hero do? What would the person that you respect do? What would the person that you admire, person that inspires you, what would they do? Well, do that and if you do that, you slowly build momentum. You today I did what I wanted to do. Today I started a class in yoga. I did this. I did all these things that I was saying I wasn't going to do, and now I feel momentum. And momentum is a very important point in people's lives. That's why some folks don't like to take days off, because they feel like they're losing momentum and they sort of have to restart the wheel up again after a vacation. And there's a lot of folks that live life on a cushy cloud of marshmallows and bullshit, and then one day something goes wrong. And I mean, that's why spoiled kids are so sad. Like a spoiled young boy is one of the saddest things ever. A young boy that becomes a man and can't take care of himself, and his dad has to keep on rescuing him. His dad has to keep on bailing him out of situations and giving him money. I've met guys like that, and that is a crippling affliction when they don't have the character themselves to be able to get by in life. They constantly need someone to help them and bail them out. Even as a grown man, I've met guys in their 40s that still need help from their parents. I'm like, what the man? You're never going to get it right, because somewhere along the line they didn't face enough of the adversity to realize that there's sometimes you just got to get up and get shit done. There's sometimes where you have to pull yourself up and you have to push forward even if you want to stay in bed. And if you don't do that, and you just keep calling on your daddy and your daddy keeps rescuing you, you never develop those tools. You never develop that ability to recognize what you're doing wrong with your life.
Anyone that has a goal and they're moving towards it, they're successful. Most people think that you're successful if you have a lot of money. Quite often you have a lot of money if you're successful, but it isn't. I wouldn't say Mother Teresa has a lot of money.
Okay.
But she's a pretty successful lady. So it's...
Okay, so that barrier to success...
Well, there's a couple of them.
Okay.
I think there's two barriers. One is our conditioning. The conditioning that takes place in our subconscious mind from the time we're infants. All we can do is act and talk like the people around us. That's why we learn the language we learned. If there was 10 languages spoken in our home, we'd learn 10 languages without any trouble. There's usually one, and that's the only one we ever learn. And we grow older and we think, oh, I couldn't learn another language. We could learn 100 if we wanted to. You can do anything. But I think we're conditioned. We have a real strong conditioning, usually with not some very good ideas. And then that's the barrier that's inside us. The one that's outside of us is our environment. We have a tendency to act like everybody around us. And if you think about this, it does make a lot of sense. Because if you study statistics, 95% of the people live their entire life and never live the way they want to live. You know that 95% of the population in this country, let's say in North America,
Okay.
the richest continent in the history of the world, they'll work productively, let's say for 40 of their 65 years,
Okay.
and they'll end up with hardly any money. Well, there's got to be something wrong.
So there's not much.
5% of the people end up financially comfortable or independent.
Are you trying to depress us, Bob? Because that's.
No, actually, I think it's quite an exciting idea, because you see, the idea behind it is that anybody can win, anyone at all. But if we start studying these statistics, I think we'll arrive at the conclusion, geez, I better start thinking for myself rather than follow everybody. Most people, they get a job, they look around, they see how everybody else is doing their work, and they start doing it the same way. Mm-hmm. They should stop and think, I wonder if any of these people know what they're doing. You know, is there a better way to do it?
But don't we have a need to fit in? I mean, we don't want to stand out. We don't want to get fired. We don't want to make waves.
Exactly. Just fall into line. You know, take a number. Be like everybody around. You know, that'd be great in the animal kingdom. But human beings aren't supposed to live that way. I think we should make a few waves. We should maybe stand out, be different. Not for the sake of being different,
okay,
but because we are different. We all think different thoughts. And I believe we should start to think and build images in our mind of what we'd like to do and then set out and do it.
Okay.
Emerson did that, Edison did that, Marconi did that, Samuel Morse did that, Buckminster Fuller did that. We could go on and on and on. Okay. They were different. They stood out. They made a few waves.
You're alone with your thoughts. You get an idea of what your thoughts actually are. If you live your life just acting constantly on the momentum of other people's expectations, of you wanting to be liked by these other people, you can run into a trap, and you set up a life that you didn't really want. You're trapped in this situation where you have a mortgage, you've got credit card bills, you got student loans you have to pay, you have a bunch of shit going on that you have to continue to feed. And all that, and especially if you have a family and you have to feed them, oh my goodness. Then you're fully locked in. You can't take any chances whatsoever. And oftentimes people make the mistake of getting stuck. And it is just a tactical mistake, just like it would be a mistake if you got stuck on a video game. Just like it would be a mistake if you followed a map incorrectly and you get stuck in the woods. Your life is certainly some sort of a journey. It's certainly some sort of a journey. And we have to all be aware that when we're making journeys, we're not going to always make the right steps. And sometimes you have to back up and try again. And if you're in a position where you can't back up and try again, you've trapped yourself. And the system will set out honeypots for people to get trapped in. The system will set out the ideas of retirement, the ideas of the golden years, providing you benefits, providing you a healthy work environment. Why? Well, because they want people to work for them. They don't want people to realize their own dreams and escape. And that's a pain in the ass. So you got to hire more people and train them. And they want to set it up so that you stick around. You stick around in some sort of an unsatisfying world. It's up to you to see that video game problem, to see that issue as it comes up on the map. And no, I think this is a right turn. To see all the problems that could potentially lay in front of you and calculate your future. And then also look around at all the people that didn't do it and look at the misery that they're in and learn that you don't want to be like them. And then look at the people that have kind of taken chances and navigated their way. What did they do differently than you? What objectivity do they have that maybe you lack? What insight into their own mistakes are they willing to delve into that you're not, that you step back and you go, you know, I just don't want to look at myself that closely. But the person who's able to look at themselves the closest is going to get the more rational results.
If you decide to stop loving me, I'm not going to love myself any less. I believe in me. If you stop believing in me, I'm not going to believe in myself any less. If you believe that I'm irrelevant, that no one is checking for me, and that I don't mean anything to the world, because you think or believe that about me, it doesn't mean that I'm going to believe it about myself. See, the day that you start living your life according to everybody else's opinion is the beginning of the end. Most of y'all, and it's f***ed up, I see it every day, all day. Most of you guys don't actually know your self-worth. you don't know your self-value. So you're like a vulnerable little child and you're shaking. And it's like, everybody loves me this week, so I love me this week. Next week, it drops. So now you're running around insecure, feeling self-conscious, and not loving yourself, sad and depressed, based on the feedback, the responses, and the energy that the rest of the world is giving you. I wrote about this in my new book, which is coming. It's called Black Rose. It hasn't been released yet, but it's coming. I talk about the fact that fame is an addiction. Fame is one of the most unspoken addictions out there. So many celebrities and entertainers, athletes, and public figures, they base their self-worth on their relevancy based on everybody in the world checking for them. And as soon as people stop checking for them, then they stop checking for themselves. Y'all don't love me no more? I'm not selling records. I'm not #1 in the box office no more. I'm not making as much money as I used to make. Oh, ain't nobody checking for me. So guess what? I'm not checking for myself. No one sees the value in me anymore. So I don't see the value in me anymore. Every time I go on Twitter, Facebook, they say I'm irrelevant. So I'm irrelevant to myself now. I ain't because you think that I ain't. No one loves me because you said no one loves me. I don't love me. The day that you allow the opinions of the outside world to dictate the way you feel about yourself, it is the beginning of the end of you living a blessed and self-loving, secure life. I can tell y'all right now that it is not the car that I drive or any of the jewelry that I own or the size of my house that defines my self-worth. I'm hot. I'm hot. I'm hot when you don't think I'm hot. I'm amazing when you don't think I'm amazing. I love me even if you stop loving me. You can say the nastiest, meanest, evilest shit that you could ever conjure up. It will never change the way I feel about myself. I'm telling you, that's the way I live my life. That's how I feel about me. Most of y'all are on Twitter. You're desperate for likes. You're desperate for the egotistical feeding frenzy. Feed my ego, feed. Like me, because I don't like me. I'm telling y'all right now, the day that you allow the opinions of everybody on the outside world to define your day-to-day, month-to-month, and year-to-year, it's the beginning of the end. Love yourself. Believe in yourself. Love yourself, believe in yourself, independent of the validation of the world. Have opinions and feelings about yourself, independent of the feedback. Why you gotta have somebody calling you beautiful every day in order for you to feel beautiful? Do you believe that you're beautiful, or do you only believe you're beautiful when other people say that you're beautiful? I'm just asking. Self-love is the cure to self-hate. If you make it to the end of this video, I want you to write, self-love is the cure to self-hate. These are the type of qualities that I'm going and have been instilling in my daughter. There is no man that you could ever meet, Shayla, that can make you feel more amazing than what you're supposed to feel about yourself. Nobody wants to be alone. But if you show up empty, as an empty shell, and you're expecting this man to fulfill you and fill you up with all of the love that doesn't exist, you're gonna be f***ed up. Because as soon as he leaves, you're depleted, you're empty, and you have nothing left for yourself again. Never rely or depend on anybody to fulfill your heart. And if you don't believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, you better get to know him. Because that's also a part of the process of self-love. You are supposed to love yourself independent of any feedback, comments, likes, shares, and any of all of this other social media shit. Some of y'all are social media whores. What does that mean? I ain't shit until people on my timeline tell me that I'm the shit. I love me independent of anything that anybody could ever say. Has nothing to do with being arrogant or egotistical. It's just a matter of knowing and being aware of self-worth. I love you. If you make it to the end of this video, I want you to write, self-love is the cure to self-hate. Self-love is the cure to self-hate. And I hope you share this video, because I want this video to spread all over the world. Send it to World Star Hip Hop. Send it to all of the blogs and the websites. Self-love is the cure to self-hate. It's your man Tyrese, spreading love always. Share, share, share. Click that share button.
You should seek failures. See, if you're playing it safe, you're not going to win. If you're playing it safe, like that old saying, you know, you were taught when you're a little girl, better to be safe than sorry. Well, that's a bunch of crap. It's not better to be safe than sorry. It's by trying things that you figure out how far you can go. You got to get outside the box. Like it's reported, Edison tried 3,000 ways before he built the incandescent light. He said he didn't fail 3,000 times. He said there was 3,000 different steps to building a light bulb. Well, there's different steps to get to where you're going. And I really do treat winning and losing exactly the same. I do not let it upset me.
Do you think that's a big part of why you're so successful?
Well, it's part of why I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it is, because I'll try anything. Like if I'm into an idea, the idea of losing never enters my mind. See, I have worked with giants. I had the good fortune of working with Sir Edmund Hillary. He was the first man to stand on top of the world. And I worked with him on 3 different occasions. And the only difference in Ed Hillary and Bob Proctor is in his size. Now, he's gone now, but he was a big man. When he shook hands with me, his hand wrapped right around mine. I felt like a dwarf, you know. And in talking to him, like it never entered his mind he wouldn't get to the top of the mountain, but he failed in 1951, he failed in 1952. It wasn't until 1953 that he got to the top of the mountain. Now, people had died for centuries trying to do that. But he said, I knew if I could see it in here, I could hold it out here. Stella Mann wrote that in a book. If you can see it in your head, you can hold it in your hand. And that's right. And if you're not prepared to lose, you're never going to win.
Select a person who is already doing something that you'd like to do. Get to know that person. Mm-hmm. Go to the experts for advice. Don't ask the person next door, your mother, father, brother, or the guy that works beside you, because they don't necessarily know. There's no point in asking a person how to earn a lot of money if they're only earning $10,000 a year. They don't know. If they knew, they'd probably be earning a lot. It's like, don't go to a sick doctor if you want to get healthy.
Okay.
So you find someone that you can go to for advice. Get a real good book and lock into that book and start to study it. Like, I've had this one that looks like a Bible, you know. But this is Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. I've been reading this thing now for 23 years. I'll probably read it for another 23 years. I got another good book that I brought over here today. It's called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. Now, I'm not getting a commission for selling this. The author's dead now. He's been gone for a couple of years. But Dr. Joseph Murphy wrote this book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. And that's probably one of the best books that you're ever going to find, because you're going to learn something about your mind when you read this book. Okay. Now, I read a lot of books. I've got probably 1,000 books sitting in my den at home in my library. But the one that I carry it everywhere I go, and I read it all the time, is Think and Grow Rich. I never stop reading it.
Now, where's the value for you to reread that and read it again? I mean, you must know it well enough that... I
think I could probably recite it verbatim. But the secret is, I once read in a book where it said, when you read a good book through the second time, you don't see something in it that you didn't see before. You see something in yourself that wasn't there before. You see, when I read this, I create a greater awareness.
They also have a saying that most of our hearts cannot be affected by the things that they're unaware of. They also have a saying that there is a certain level of peace that you have from being oblivious and clueless about the reality of things that are going on. You know better, but you're not doing better. That's the part of this whole video that's going to make you a little uncomfortable. You know better, but you're not doing better. That's some scary shit. For you to decide, here's limitations with my career and my marriage and my personal life. Here's some dysfunction in my career, my personal life, and my surroundings and my friends. I know better, but I'm so used to doing wrong and being dysfunctional. I know better, but I don't want to do better. Or I know better, but I'm not willing to do better. You have decided to settle, and you're so comfortable in your skin. You are pissing everybody off at your job. If somebody gonna look at me, treat me and be disrespectful, like, fuck you, well, guess what? Fuck you. Is that really gonna help your career to grow with that type of mentality? When's the last time you brought your boss a basket and just said, with the amount of people that are unemployed in this country, sometimes I can take having a job for granted, being able to pay my bills, feed my kids, pay my mortgage or my rent, my car note. It's only because you have a job that you're able to survive. Most of us want more than what we already have. But the fact that you do have, and you're being mean, you have an attitude, everything about what you've been doing is basically self-sabotage. You're trying to, it's like, okay, here's a blessing, here's an opportunity right here in front of me. I'm gonna use my charm to get in the door, and then I'm gonna become an asshole. Self-sabotage, self-defeat. Here's an opportunity right here in front of me. Things are going well. Things are beautiful. They like me, they like me. And then something in your mind and in your spirit says, let me try and figure out a way to f this up. Because for some reason in your mind, you associate dysfunction with success. You know to do better, but you don't want to do better. Self-sabotage, self-defeat is real. When you show up late, when you are out of shape and your job requires you to be in shape, when you are not working as hard as you know you can work on the job, when you are giving people attitude because they're giving you an attitude, that's like a cycle of death. It ain't gonna stop. It's like catty little girly shit, and men do the same shit. Catty, girly, just dumb shit. Ego, you know what I'm saying? Homeboy came, look, he got a problem with me, so I got a problem with him. If your goal is to work your way up the success ladder, if you're gonna have a problem with everybody who has a problem with you, do you think that that's gonna help you to get to the top even faster? You know how many times I gotta laugh at shit that ain't funny? You know how many times I gotta go to dinners and events and places and be around people that I don't f with at all? I don't like them. They've made it obvious that they don't like me. But guess what? If it's a game of survival, we're going to get from where we are to where we're trying to be. Your pride and your ego is out of control. Your pride and your ego has been killing your career growth. Your pride and your ego and your attitude has compromised the altitude of your career. I'll say it again. Your attitude has compromised the altitude of your career. Your shit could be on another level. You know better, but you're deciding to not do better. You are a lazy, unprofessional, mean attitude having, and yet when things are not happening good for you, when things are not coming your way, when things are not happening as fast as you want them to happen, you blame everybody else and what they're doing and saying, and you completely disown everything that you're doing to contribute to your career not going to another level. You know better, but you don't want to do better. This is uncomfortable. But I'm telling y'all the truth. Your boss needs a cigar with a personal letter. This week, he does. Your boss needs an invite to lunch. Or you need to tell your boss, I'm gonna treat you to lunch. Your boss needs his ego stroked, and he needs to understand that you're a new person. And from here on, all of your coworkers and everybody that is with you, whether they're making more money than you or less money than you, everyone around you can contribute to you climbing faster up the success ladder. When people who would normally find themselves being jealous and envious of you find themselves saying, I like him or I like her so much, I am now rooting for them to even bypass me. They're just such a great person. I want them to receive whatever blessings and opportunities there is for them to receive. But if you have a f***ed up attitude, it is going to continue to compromise the altitude of your career. I refuse to be aware of something I could be and should be doing better and purposely decide to not do it. I refuse. That's just like inviting broke into your life. That's like inviting homeless in your life. That's inviting no gas money, can't pay your cell phone bill. That's inviting bullshit in your life. To know better and not do better is some of the dumbest shit you could ever decide to do for yourself. Then you're sitting back stressed out and depressed, wondering why. Why ain't things happening? That's the answer. I just gave it to you. It's about as real as it gets. The question is, what are you gonna do next week, 2 weeks from now? You're in your own way. You are the reason your career is not on the next level. Nobody else but you. Oh, that's uncomfortable. I'll say it again. You know better, but you're not doing better. And to know better and not be willing to do better, your career isn't gonna get any better. I want you to hug your coworker. Give them energy and a conversation that they don't deserve. And then guess what? They'll start feeling like shit, that they're giving you f***ed up energy, and you're still loving them and giving them compassion and energy that they may not deserve. That's how you become recommended to become the president or the vice president or the senior executive, or you find yourself working your way up the ranks. Your attitude has given people scissors to cut you off. Your attitude and your whole shit has given people scissors to try and chop you down and chop you out of opportunities. Everybody wants to make more money. Everybody wants a bigger position. Everybody wants to move from where they are to get to that next level. But your attitude has compromised your altitude. This is a long video, but if you make it to the end of this video, I want you to write, your attitude will compromise the altitude of your career. As always, I'm doing these videos because I love you and I care for you, and I want you to start having a problem with where your life and your career is.